Hey guys, welcome to another exciting journey into Fathers in Training. Are you excited? Yeah! It's going to be great. Because tonight we're going to talk about discipline. If you get aggressive here. So, what I'd like to do first off is just kind of open us up in a word of prayer. Lord, we're here tonight because you are the creator of the heavens and the earth, and we desire to be men of integrity, to lead our families, and to love our wives, to raise up our children. They are the next generation. And we realize that we have gaps, and sometimes that we fall short. But we know that through your word, through biblical instruction, that you can raise us up by your Holy Spirit to be the kind of men that not only you would desire for us to be, but that our families would just be proud of. So Lord, I just pray that tonight will be honoring to you. Thank you for each one of the men that are here. They could be somewhere else, but they came here tonight. So I pray that you just bless them. Just bless this time. In Jesus' name. All right, so kind of an interesting topic tonight, discipline. So who in here was disciplined growing up? Raise your hand. Who was disciplined all the time? Raise your hand. So tonight, there was a lot of different ways that this topic could have went. As far as discipline, there's when we discipline ourselves, like a runner, or someone that's involved in a sport, having the discipline to stay in shape, or the discipline to read God's word, to eat right. But because we're fathers tonight, I kind of took more of an approach as a man that is raising up his kids, ways that we can effectively discipline our kids and bring them up in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. So, I got a question for you guys before we get started. I don't know if you ever kind of thought about this. What is the purpose for which God created fathers? You ever think about that? God's word says that He is our Father, Abba Father, that He loves us, He desires to care for us. What is the purpose? God could have created the family in a lot of different ways. So I want you guys to be thinking about that as we go through this topic. Discipline. A lot of confusion. Some of the guys I've talked to had fathers that were overbearing. Some weren't even in the home. Some grew up without fathers. So there's a lot of different attitudes or points of view that we can have when it comes to discipline. In the 1960s, unfortunately, the youth of America and the young people tried to break away from traditional discipline, tradition, institutions, and they said basically all authority is bad and we should rebel against it. And it had a tremendous effect on future generations. Traditional families. It's had a tremendous impact, and it just continues today. And we see it in the way that our society views discipline in our schools, discipline in the homes. Spanking has become kind of like child abuse. But I think in a lot of ways it's a misunderstanding of what true discipline or godly discipline is. A father that disciplines his children is communicating to them that I care about them. So many of us may not have had a father that disciplined with compassion, with love, with mercy. And I realize that a lot of us come from different backgrounds. Some of you have young kids, some of you have older kids. Some of you have already raised your kids and they're out of the home and maybe grandfathers. So some of this might just be reviewed for you, but just take this with a grain of salt. Basically, discipline is, in a lot of ways, I think God's word speaks to, it's love. But God says that He disciplines those whom He loves. That that's His desire for us. And basically stated, I will not allow destructive patterns to take root in your life, which may potentially destroy you in the future. So our desire is to mold our children, to help them to work through the processes and the things that come that they're going to have to deal with. As a father, we have the responsibility to set the example for our children through discipline and biblical instruction. That is the key. You are in a church. We're going to talk about the Bible. The Bible is going to be the key to pretty much all this stuff. Through a father's love and instruction, and by God's grace, our children will learn the importance of restraining themselves and honoring God with their lives. So, in a lot of ways, we're disciplining our children now. We're setting up boundaries. We're setting up guidelines, and we're doing that for them, no matter what their age. I realize if they're out of the home, things are going to change. But the whole point is to establish godly character. It does us no good if we've raised our kids and they know how to behave. They know the things that you don't like, and they know what not to do. But our goal is to essentially establish godly character. What it isn't is causing someone to suffer for a crime or for a bad behavior. Again, a lot of misunderstandings about what true discipline is. It's not, hey, you did something, and now I'm going to get revenge on you. I'm going to cause you to suffer. Okay? Biblical discipline, what is it? It's dealing with their way of thinking as well as their behavior. It's changing the way that they think. And if it's done appropriately, it will always be accompanied by instruction and a change of heart, a change in their attitude, which is going to essentially lead to a change of heart. Discipline has to have instruction that comes along with it. And the goal is to change our kids' hearts. And in a culture that's all but basically forgotten about God, that is the most important thing we need to be focused on when we're talking about discipline. Okay, so basically these are kind of the basics. This is kind of some of the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about a united front. That has to do with your wife. The relationship that you have with your wife, the relationship that you two, the partnership you have in disciplining your kids. Childishness versus foolishness. We kind of talked a little bit about that last week in our group. Sometimes it's hard to identify some of the behaviors that our kids are having. Should I discipline for that? Is it an issue or not? First time obedience, the appeals process, which is great for kids. My kids love that one. Consequences, and basically what is the result of discipline? What's going to be the result of godly parenting? Okay, so as stated before, it's all about the heart. The Bible says where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's going to be your desire, the thing that you're going to think about. Correcting our kids' behavior is not as important as the opportunity we have in shaping their hearts, shaping their character. I can remember as a kid growing up, if I did the right things, I was off Dad's radar. Right? He was like, hey, you got the right grades, you got the right attitude, but my heart was far from godly things, from being honoring to my dad. So the heart is the target. The most important decision that our kids will make is essentially their attitude toward who is God and who is His Son, Jesus Christ. So as parents, when we're disciplining, we need to keep that in focus because we're going to deal with a lot of subjects. Temptation, lying, cheating, stealing, all these things that our kids are going to struggle with. And the goal is when they reach a certain age and they understand the gospel, that they will make a decision to accept Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. If we fail to explain the reasons why in disciplining, then we fail to provide them with the tools necessary to shape their character, to develop a sense of morality. So it's our goal as dads to help them understand what is morality. So if you ask a kid today, is stealing wrong? Yeah, it's wrong. Why? Because you don't do it. It's like taking from somebody else. But why is that wrong? Because God has commanded us. That God's nature it's against God's nature. These are some of the verses that I just came up with, which talk about building character. As men, it's always going to come back to us. So one of the most important things we need to remember is that it starts with us. You know, if we do not have the ability, we don't have the ability to impart what we don't possess. If we're not spending time in God's Word, if we're not praying, if our kids aren't seeing, our kids are not dumb. They completely understand who we are. They watch us when we're unaware that they're watching us. So it has to be us. We've heard a lot about Deuteronomy. You know, as I read God's Word, I read a lot of these verses. This was written a long time ago. But what I like to do is kind of look at these and say, you know, how does this apply to me today in our culture, in our society, my kids? You know, and you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I'm giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home, when you're on the road, you're going to bed, you're getting up. You see something on TV, talk to them when you're watching TV. Talk to them when you're driving the car, when you're fishing, when you're doing everyday life. Hey, did you see that thing that happened at school? Oh, yeah. What do you think about that? You know, what do you think God's Word would say about that? I don't know. I have no idea. Let's check it out. Let's take a look. The relationship that we have with our wife, and, you know, I want to be sensitive to the guys that, you know, maybe they're not married or we're divorced, but the way we treat our wives as men, that it's going to have a lasting impact on our children. God commands us to love our wives. It's a command. He says, this is not an option, dude. You love your wife. Treat her with respect because she's my child. The Bible says that when a man and woman come together, the two shall become one flesh. When God looks at us, he sees one person. He doesn't see me. He sees my wife. He doesn't see how she's behaving. He looks at me, and I'm accountable for how I treat my wife. And he asks me to be patient with her. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, it says, you husbands in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way. And I look out in this crowd and I see all you guys, and I know you're totally understanding. You've never had an argument with your wife. So it's good. I'm with good guys here. Here's some things to think about. How we talk to her. How we talk about her. And with our buddies and with our friends. We're sharing about our day-to-day life. We're letting them into, hey, this is my home, this is my family, this is my wife. It's nagging me. You know, protect your privacy. You don't talk about your wife to other people. You keep it private. How we defend her. Not just physical, but to other people. How we consult her on important matters. You know, consider her opinion. Make sure that she understands that, you know, you are valuable to me and your opinion matters. And affection. Make sure you're hugging your wife. Make sure you're kissing her. That may seem like for a guy, it's like, come on, babe. But you know what? Send her flowers. Let her know she's important. Write her notes. Those little things are going to have a lasting impact on the way she views you, on your relationship with her, and ultimately your kids are watching. And your kids are saying, hey, this is what a marriage is. This is what a man is to a woman. And your kids are going to look for that. We're going to talk about that a bit later on. A united front. So this is something early on that I realized was really important. When we started dealing with discipline, my wife sometimes had a different point of view on how we should deal with a particular matter, and I had something else that was, I don't think we should do that, I think we should do this. You need to be united in the discipline of your children. Your kids need to know that, hey, if mom says no, then dad says no. that you guys are united 100%. And it's going to go a long way to making things a lot easier, whether your kids are young or older. As dads, we need to set the example by taking the initiative. Don't let your wife deal with it. You know, if you see something needs to be done, be a man. Take action. Deal with it. Don't let your wife do it. Discuss discipline in private. All right? If it's a sensitive matter and you want to say, well, I'm not sure how we should do this. Is it a week of being grounded or is it 6 months? You know, go privately, talk about it. And a lot of times you're going to find that if you guys talk privately, you work out details that in the end are going to, the whole situation is going to work out a lot better because you guys take the time to think about it. Don't disagree in front of your kids. Obviously, we're men, we have our own opinion about how things should go. But if your wife says, hey, you're getting this is your discipline, or this is what I think we should do, take her aside, talk to her privately, and then work out the details, but back her up. It's really important. It's a lot more important than back up your spouse. And avoid a child-centered home. I don't know if we think a lot about that, but our kids are important to us. And what we want as men is to have balance. And a lot of times what can happen is our kids occupy a lot of our time and our attention. We're driving to sports, we're doing all these things. Our kids are a welcome addition to our family, but they are not the center of the universe. And as guys, sometimes we can, hey, my boy, but we need to make sure that we're balancing that we're not overdoing it. We want to bless them, want to give them stuff, and that's good. But we all should evaluate whether or not we're in danger of raising up our kids in a child-centered home, because it's not healthy. This is something I want to discuss to you guys, understanding your child's natural bent. Your kids are unique, okay? They were created by God, and they have a tendency to go their own way. But understanding your child's natural way of doing things, their natural inclinations, it's going to go a long way to helping us build a deeper relationship with them. And so with that, I want to talk briefly about this. This is one of the questions that we're going to talk about tonight in our time. What is your child's love language? Okay? And all these questions, and this is going to be on the website, so you guys will be able to download that. But when I found out about this, my wife and I took this little test. And I found out that my gift was acts of service. And hers was quality time. So I was running around, fixing stuff and building stuff. Look what I made for you. Oh, quality. Acts of service, acts of service. And my wife says, that's great, but all I want is to spend time with you. And I'm like, no, we ain't got time for quality time. We need to be doing acts of service. So it really helped me to understand my wife, but it also helped me to understand my children, like who they are. What is their desires? What do they relate to? Physical touch. Some kids, man, if you're hugging them, you're kissing them, you're saying, man, I love you, that's a big deal for them. That's much, much better than getting a gift. But some kids are like, yeah, you hug me, you love me, whatever. Buy me a catcher's mitt. I want a new skateboard. To them, that says, I love you. We can't discount that because that is who your kids are. And so if you take the time to figure these things out, it's going to go a long way to helping you relate to your kids and build the relationship, which is ultimately what we're trying to do. Because if we have a relationship with them, we're going to be able to be effective in instruction, in wisdom, in godly living. This is something that when I found out about this, I was like, wow. This is like revolutionary. Childishness versus foolishness. Identifying my kids' behavior when they were young. Because kids are doing stuff all the time. They're breaking stuff, they're running around, they're crazy when they're young. And they get a little older, and they're crazy, but they're in just a different way. Childishness basically is usually followed up with the statement, oh, it was an accident. Basically, they're just being kids. It's not a rule that we have in our home. We haven't instructed them that, hey, you don't do this. Foolishness is an attitude or an action or a behavior where the child has received instruction and the consequences have been clearly defined. You said, hey, check it out. I know we haven't talked about it before, but from now on, you don't stand up in the middle of the table, swinging your milk around and drinking it. Like a crazy man, right? Next time your kid does that, they say, oh, it was an accident. I didn't know. I was just being a kid. But you can say, you know what, did we talk about this? Yeah. Did we say why we don't do that? Yeah. Because we need to honor our father and mother, and spilling milk everywhere is disrespectful to mom. She got to clean it up. And what did we say was going to happen when we did that? Oh man, I was going to get sent to our room, I was going to stand in the corner. So sometimes we take for granted when our kids are running around, they got energy. Send them outside, let them burn it off. They're breaking things, they're dropping things, they're tripping over things, but they're kids. When they get older, it's not so much childishness because they're young adults, but foolishness is when they say, you know what, I know what you said, Dad, I'm 16 years old, but I want to do this. It's more important to me, so I'm going to violate your rules. I'm going to violate the rules of our home. Proverbs 22:15 says, a youngster's heart is filled with foolishness, but physical discipline will drive it far away. There's nothing else to say about that. That is basically just saying, you know what? Our kids need discipline, change the attitudes and the actions of their heart. And you really need to remember too that our kids are individuals, they're people, and they're sinners. They have that sin nature just like us. They have that temptation just like us. And when they become young adults, teenagers, now they're dealing with hormones and birth boys and girls and cell phones. It's crazy. This says, discipline your children while there's hope. Otherwise, you will ruin their lives. Think about that verse, Proverbs 19:18. Discipline them while there is time. Otherwise, you will ruin their lives. It's incredible. That's even the Bible. That's God's instruction to us. Everybody pretty much knows that one. He who spares the rod hates his son. That's like strong language. But he who loves him disciplines him promptly. God knows that attitudes and actions, ways of thinking are contagious. God takes very seriously the discipline of our kids, and he wants us to take it seriously too. He who spares his rod hates his son. He who loves him disciplines him promptly. Don't wait. Okay, this is another little tip we talked about in the beginning. We're going to talk about first time obedience. You guys ever heard of this? First time obedience? Ever heard of it? Yeah. You need to discipline your kid first time. It's the most critical and effective tool that a parent has at their disposal. It's going to set that level of expectation, it'll be firmly established, and it sets the tone for how our spouse, as well as if there are siblings in the house, are going to be treated. It also helps to avoid being overly critical or nagging. So we've identified this behavior is childishness. You get a pass. I've instructed you from now on, we don't do this. So now we've moved on to foolishness. The kid knows better. Okay, I've been instructed that I don't do that. Mom says, hey, when I call you from the backyard, you come in right away. She calls. He doesn't come. He's running around playing. So I don't know if you had this growing up. Mom would say, I've called you, get in here now. Okay. But we don't come. Right? 10 minutes later, Mom's voice changes. You better get in here right now. And then we're like, whoa, okay, so we got about another 2 minutes before Mom blows her top. So we'll come in about a minute, right? First time obedience. If you don't expect it, you're not going to get it. And this is something that sometimes takes time to establish but it's well worth it. It's well worth the effort. You want to first discuss the issue with your kids. Let them know, hey, we've been doing things wrong, or from now on, this is a rule. We don't violate this rule. You also want to give a reasonable amount of time to comply. If you've given them a command, an instruction, and they know, hey, mom calls, we come, when dad says, do this, I need to do it. But you also want to be reasonable. Don't, beat them after 2 seconds. You need to be consistent in this, and you need to be reasonable, and it will be effective, especially with little kids. You need to follow through. If you said there's a consequence for something, you need to follow through. Always be respectful. Always be calm. It's much more effective. Because your kids will not respect you. You lose your temper. Never discipline anger. One of the things that I learned was, if I was angry, I would say, you are going to get some discipline, but I cannot effectively give it to you right now. So I'm going to go away into my room, spend some time thinking, and then I'll come back and I'll deal with you. And I was much more calm, and I was much more rational, and it really was effective. And it also gave my kids time to think too. Now, if you're starting this first-time obedience thing, obviously you want to do it in a biblical fashion. We don't want to be overly critical about every little thing. We've talked about kids are kids, young adults are young adults, they do forget. But the appeals process is basically for your kids. So you said, from now on, we have this rigid structure, first-time obedience. If I tell you to do it, you got to do it. It should, the appeals process is basically when you've given a command, hey, I want you to go take a bath right now. My kids growing up, they could say, may I appeal? And I'd say, all right, what do you got? And they say, my program is like 5 more minutes and it's over, and then I'll go take my bath. I'd say, you know what? That's awesome. Good job. 5 more minutes and then you go. You got that. Taught them to be diplomatic. It taught them that I wasn't rigid and I was going to always my way or the highway. It was very effective. It helps to avoid misunderstandings. It lets them know that they have value and that their opinion matters. That you know what? You tell me, hey, can we do this instead? That I value you as a person and I'm going to let you sometimes make those decisions. But no negotiations. It is not a way that your kids can say, oh, hey, tell you what, let me try this, let me do that. You don't negotiate. Consequences are self-explanatory. They should be laid out, though, in advance. And I found that this was a very effective thing, especially with little kids. Is basically they need to be explained in advance. They need to be clear. If you do this or you do that, this will be the consequence. And this is why we do this. And this is where you guys can start exercising that spiritual leadership in your home. This is what God says, and this is why we're doing it. The punishment should fit the crime. 27 spankings for forgetting to close the front door is probably not going to be good. If there's no change in attitude, there's not been a change of heart. If we're disciplining and our kids are defying you and they're standing up on the inside, then you need to think about a different consequence. If they're defiant, you need to work that out. But that's the whole purpose, is to change our heart. What is the result of all this? What are we going to get out of it? We begin to apply these principles. We begin to apply God's way of doing things. In our homes, we're going to have peace. We're going to have peace in the relationships with our wives, with our kids, and our families, and our extended families. As we begin to see, hey man, your kids, what's up with them? Did you buy them on the internet? They're nice. Respect. You begin to establish respect with your wife and your kids. If your kids are older, if they're out of the home, same thing, man. You're going to begin to work on that respect. You're going to have deeper and more meaningful relationships. Your children will begin to obey you out of honor rather than duty or fear. As you're building the relationships with your kids, no matter what age, You're going to begin to say, you know what? I like Dad. He's all right. He's diplomatic. He's merciful. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to give him a solid this time around. And ultimately, the whole point, our children choose to follow Christ. Which, what could a dad ask for more? So on the wrap up, discipline begins with us. Our relationship to God, our quality time with Him, our study of God's Word, relationships with other men. You guys are here, so you've already started that. How we love our wife. I want to take that away tonight. Strengthen the relationship. You know what? The most effective thing I heard in my relationship to my wife was when I was a young man, just had gotten married, hadn't been married too long. And someone said, you know, a lot of people look at marriage as it's a partnership. It's like a corporation, you know. I have responsibilities and duties. I got 50%. She has 50%. And as long as everybody's doing 50%, it's great. As time goes by in real life, we figure out that, hey, things don't always work out that way. The wife's really not pulling her weight. Somebody needs to talk to her. Maybe I need to send her an email. You know, and we start getting a little upset. You know, you're not really living up to your expectations that I had for you. You give 100% all the time, irregardless of your wife's behavior, irregardless of her attitude, irregardless of the way that she speaks to you. You give her 100%. It's not a 50-50 deal. When you do that, your wife will be unable to resist your masculinity. The dude gave me flowers and candy all on the same day, and he took out the trash. I mean, please.
Not the way you caught it.
Reassess our relationships. Ask God, my wife, my children for forgiveness if I've been falling short. This applies to little kids or my kid's 40 years old. You know, did you let them down? And some guys that are in here doing it right, you know, and you guys should be praised for that. But we as men sometimes need to reassess things, take a fresh look at things. So if we need to, talk to our wife, say, hey, to drop the ball, talk to the kids. Begin to apply biblical principles in raising my children. It's never too late, no matter what their age. I had a hellion of a young lady. She's 21 now. Thank God I survived. Recognize they're a gift from God. Their spiritual and physical well-being is our responsibility. Not just providing for them, not just the paycheck, not just the food. That it's our responsibility for their spiritual growth. Learning how to pray, learning how to treat other people. These kids are a gift from God, and you would not have them if God did not trust you enough to have them. And pray. When you pray, be specific. I pray all the time. I say, God, I'm an idiot. I need help. I'm doing this wrong. And He says, well, what does my word say? Come on. And I go, yeah. I'm going to go back and read. Study. Daily seek God's wisdom and matters regarding my family. Keep it in the forefront of your mind. Find that time. Every day we should be spending time with God's Word. If it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the end of the day, beginning of the day. So, what is the purpose for which God created fathers? Why did He give us so much responsibility? Let's go back. Look at that hands we go. My goodness. To lead His family with passion and strength, loving them enough to pass on the truth and the wisdom of God's Word. Your kids remember things that you will forget. That time you went to the ballpark with Dad, the time you were fishing, the time you did this, the time you did that. You will forget, but your kids will remember these things. God wants us as unique individuals to lead our families with passion and strength. To be men. I gotta tell you, the world is trying to steal your kids, and they really don't give a rip about you. And they basically come right out and said, we're going to tear them away from you. We're going to brainwash them through movies, school, friends, peers, universities, professors. And as men, we are going to stand up for what belongs to us. And we're going to take back what belongs to us. You have an opportunity to raise up the next generation of kids in your home, and that will affect their families and the way that they deal with it is so important. So important. And I want to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to bring this topic to you. So, we're going to break up in our groups now. And if you don't have a leader, then fine. There's nobody new here, right, that hasn't been here? All right. So let's break up in our groups, and we'll see you back here in a little bit. So next week, turning on back, is Steve Phipps is going to be talking about ways that we can love our wives, and that's going to be good. It's going to be good. We can all use a little more of that, right? So, final thoughts, questions? Greg?
The appeal, can you give some examples on that?
Well, the one with the TV was good. You know, like, just like, hey, you know, if your kids are older, hey, we're going to grandma's house, you know, and that's Sunday, we're going there. And the kid can say, hey, you know, is it okay if I go to my friend's house that day? And it's a good opportunity to talk with them, you know, maybe about things they hadn't thought about. You know, grandma's getting older, you don't know how much time she has. But then as a dad, using discretion and saying, you know, I think that'd be all right. You know? One of the things that was very hard for me was we need to learn to say yes a lot more. We need to say yes to our kids when they ask for things, when they want to do things, because when you have to say no, you want it to be effective. You want them to know that when I say no, I mean no. And it's because I love you and I want to protect you. But there's a lot of different opportunities, but explain the process to your kids and they'll figure it out real quick. Just don't let them use it as a way to negotiate to get out of things. Again, it's meant to help you avoid misunderstandings. You know, somebody spills something or they're getting into something and you come in and you know that that child has done it in the past, but it's their brother. And we come in and we're like, hey, we're going to deal with this. The kid says, hey, you know, hold on, I want to talk about it. We want our kids to know that they can talk to us, that they can discuss things with us. And that's the whole point. It's not to get out of discipline. It's we want them to know that they can discuss things with us. There's an open line of communication, and that we're not going to shut them down. It's my way or the highway. You know, how many times have we heard that? I did. Any others? So, the questions and these topics that we talk about are not exhaustive. You know, you guys are unique, and your families are unique, and that's one thing that we talked about in our group was that, you know, you guys have your own style, and God made you special. There's no one else like you, and your families are unique too. So, taking these things and adapting these things that we talk about in these sessions, using them to your advantage, help grow your family and strengthen relationships in your family. Take parts of them. For some of you guys, hey, this part wasn't effective, but this is going to be real good. So just kind of, we can pull things from everywhere, but God's Word should be the number one source. Luke chapter 9, verse 23. And Jesus basically said to them all, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and is himself destroyed or lost? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words, of him the Son of Man will be ashamed when he comes in his own glory and in his Father's and the holy angels. So, what profit is it if we, are doing good at our jobs and we got our homes pretty well paid off, or a good percentage on our mortgage, driving a comfortable car, and you got 2.5 kids? If in the end, when our kids grow up and they leave home, they don't want to have anything to do with God. They don't want to have anything to do with us. One of the things we need to remember is that our kids identify your religion, if you're a person of faith, with you. You're going to identify church, Christianity with you. So that's why we're here. Is we haven't arrived. We haven't figured it all out. We're prone to weakness. We make mistakes, but God is faithful. It says that the work that He has begun to do, that He is faithful to see through to the very end. So we need to be men with vision to think about down the road what's coming for our kids. If you have high schoolers, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, there's Young Life, which meets over by the Hanson Lane Elementary School on Boundary on Monday nights. If your kids only like going to church, but they're in high school, Young Life's an opportunity for your kids to get plugged in, hear a Bible message, but to have fun with just other kids. It's kind of like Awanas, if you know anything about that, but it's like Awana on steroids for high schoolers. They get messy, there's gift cards. Stand up, Steve. Steve is the area director for Young Life, and he's doing a great job of reaching high schoolers, those kids that would never go to church. I grew up in a Christian home. When I turned 15, 16, I didn't go to church. I didn't want to go to church. I knew about the Bible. I knew about God's Word. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So there are ministries, Pastor Phil, for the junior hires, and we've got a lot of ministries here at Grace at the other churches. But see if you can get your kids plugged in somewhere. So I would like to close this with prayer. Lord, we just thank you for this opportunity to come together to discuss these important topics. We know that we sometimes fall short, and we have no qualms about that. We know that you are a good God, you're the creator of the heavens and the earth, and it's through your word, the power of your word, the power of the Holy Spirit, that you desire to transform us. So Lord, I pray that tonight just be honoring to you, and as we go from here, we would consider these things, that you would build us up to be men of integrity. I thank you for each man that is here. I pray that you would bless each one of their homes, and guide them and direct them in the way that they should go. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, so next week, love your wife.